This is it. This is Lake Tresamino. This is basically home. This is the home. This is the swimming pool for the next 2-3 days. I'm not entirely sure. Just gone out for a little bit of a recce, and I'm not gonna lie, like, it is warm. It was a little bit choppy today. It was kind of like swimming in a big cup of tea, if that makes any sense. But the weird thing is, I think we've got up to like 38 degrees today, air temperature. I think the water is getting beyond 30. But it'd be easy to sort of dwell on that and sort of say maybe it's a problem, dehydration, heat stroke. However, I'm kind of inclined to think it's maybe a blessing. Maybe from Poseidon, Mother Nature. I'm not entirely sure. But this is what I'm telling myself anyway, that because I feel so ready to go, like sort of just like a horse, like an untamed horse ready to go. It's almost like the warm water is almost just like pulling the reins a little bit, because you can't obviously just go and gun it in water that warm. That's the theory anyway. That's what I'm telling myself to make me feel a little bit better.
Well, so the first thing that hits you when you meet Ross is this giant smile and this sort of enthusiastic ball of energy that was quite unexpected, really.
Okay, it is 5 o'clock and we are basically, this is my humble abode in, we've got a fly in my eye. The swim's off.
My impression, because we didn't really know anything about Ross before that, was that he was going to be this quite clean-cut, gym-orientated person that was, from a slightly different world to the world that we exist in out at sea.
There's been, to be completely honest, there's been a lot of things that have kind of gone wrong over the last 48 hours. Some of the crew are missing. They've had flights cancelled, so people are stuck in Amsterdam. And it's just, but the people who are here, and people are still trying to get here, it just, I don't know, like that kind of shared adversity seems to just be bringing everybody together. So like I said, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. The rest of Tresamino is asleep, but us as a team, we're up. And despite everything that's gone wrong, just immense gratitude and feeling incredibly lucky. There was even a moment yesterday as well. We were all sitting around and it was kind of the final supper. And I just looked around and there were just people from different professions, walks of life, come from all over the world as well, just for this one swim. I don't want to get too choked up so early, but it just, even to get to the start line, it's been a real challenge, and everybody around it, I was incredibly indebted to them. So that was quite nice.
I think swimming for 4 days non-stop is a very different challenge to being able to stop. I think the idea of just having to keep going relentlessly is quite a different beast, really. Ross surprised me before with his resilience and his ability to push through. So if anyone can do it, he can. But it's such a big challenge. But because he's Ross, there's a possibility, and even if that possibility is only 5 or 10%, then I'm down with it.
Sport, society, it needs a few people who are just kind of wired a little bit wrong. I just think back to our caveman ancestors, and there would have always been one who wanted to see what was beyond the horizon. There would have been others who were amazing at just kind of making this camp, keeping everybody safe, family, nurturing everybody. But there would have been one who just went, I wonder what's across there.
Ross is still going and maintaining an excellent pace. He feels otherwise well in himself. The usual things that we would expect at this stage within the swim are cropping up, including cramp, which is intermittent at the moment, but we're trying to balance that out with the electrolytes we're providing him.
Yeah, so Ross's main issues is having cramps in his calves. That had been near enough since the start of the swim. They'd started to ascend, so they'd gone into his legs, primarily his hamstrings. So he was struggling a little bit in keeping his pace. Then he was struggling with his tummy. We were getting quite a lot of fluid through him and salts. He was getting quite a lot of bloating, feeling a bit sick, which is a bit of a concern because if we can't keep the fuel going in, it can spell disaster. But fortunately, we managed to resolve that. and we've managed to solve the vast majority of those problems. He's just still got a few cramps now.
We medics, we rely a lot on examination. History is key, of course, but actually being able to examine our patient and get observations that tell us exactly what's going on with them, so things like the heart rate, the blood pressure, how well are they getting oxygen into them, all these things, they're really, really important. So taking that away, it's almost like losing a limb, honestly.
Well, the most important rule is that basically he has to swim by his own means, so by his own force. He's not allowed to touch anybody. Nobody's allowed to push him or to pull him. He has to get into the water on his own. He has to exit the water on his own. And during the swim, nobody's basically allowed to touch him. And that's basically the most important thing.
The whole thing is quite, difficult. But then you build up during the course of the swim. Slowly it builds up to what is known as flow state, where suddenly everything seems to sink and Ross is suddenly swimming with rhythm, his face is in the water, he's meditating, and that rhythm kicks in and suddenly you're in flow state, and you'll remain like that for as long as something keeps you going, or something stays in rhythm. And then all of a sudden something will click it out again, something will go wrong and the flow state switches off again. And that is usually signalling the beginning of the end of that swim. But those moments of flow state are golden, and sometimes they last for an hour, sometimes they last for a couple of hours. But they're the moments where you make the most progress mentally and physically through the whole process.
So we know that anyone who stays awake for 24 hours plus, ultimately you're looking at an impairment in their cognition. It's similar to having a level of alcohol, a blood level of alcohol, that would mean you're over the limit. So they're very impaired.
Zero, 20 to 6 at the minute. Ross is on his third lap of the course. Again, swimming distance, what he's actually GPS swam is 52 kilometers at the minute. He's in good spirits. He's stroking very well. Stroking 52 strokes per minute. We're stretching out his feeds now into maybe, instead we started off with 20 minutes, now we're into half an hour, now we're pushing it to 40 minutes, which means that we're trying to get more progress from his swimming instead of just stopping. Sometimes the wind has pushed us back, so we're actually trying to get more progress.
He swam for 24 hours already, which is an amazing feat. And so he was a little bit slow, and also his stroke was a little bit tired, looked like he was tired, but now the wind has basically completely gone, so it's he's in a very good spirit, and the wind is not giving his hindrance any longer as it was yesterday, when it was quite strong wind in the beginning. Today the challenge will be the heat, because the water is quite warm. It's already at 29 degrees and it's going up, so this is quite a high water temperature, and we have to take care that he's not overheating actually. And also the air temperature is going up. It's around 28 degrees now, but that I think is the biggest challenge right now.
So this the hottest week of the year is about 33 degrees, and there's currently a heat wave. The sunlight is very dangerous to stay under the sun for a lot of hours.
Brilliant! We've got more volume going through now, mate, as the temperature's going up. Okay. Yeah.
We're getting some temperature issues. He's starting to get hot because there's just no breeze. The water's quite warm. Sun's beating down on him. With anyone who's in water for too long, it is still below his core body temperature. So over time,
especially as his movement slows down. Hypothermia is a problem, so his core temperature dropping too much. But for today, with the sun beating down on him, as I say, all those factors, hyperthermia, as he's working so hard, that's something we need to keep a close eye on. We also need to make sure he's getting enough salt and enough water into him, because he's going to be losing quite a bit as well, even though he's in the water.
32.7 here in the shallows. That's you're cooking your potatoes then, you know. So no, there's no human can swim in that. I think our air temperature. We'll do it now in a sec, but we're getting 44 off the boat, 45, the reflective off the deck, and then we'll see officially what the air temperature is.
So we've just gone and got some ice lollies, ice, really cold water, just because it's so hot out here and there's no wind, there's no choppiness whatsoever, so it's just a cooling down really. And then we've also got him some cloth caps as well, so we'll rinse those in cold water and put them on his head just to try and cool him down a bit.
We're getting 31.7. This is the water temperature. And this is what Ross has been swimming in at the present time, so we're actually 32 now. So to give you an idea, World Aquatics rules or FINA rules would say no swim at 31 would be no professional swim. Open water swim, they would cancel a swim due to heat exhaustion. Yeah, so I'm afraid it's coming to a conclusion now.
Oh, yeah, Chris. Okay. You want to get on that side? No, it's fine. Underneath that. Oh. Yeah. Thank you. Here we go. Next one. Oh. Hey.
And lakes are just unforgiving. There's no hiding. No wetsuit. Ass drops. Temperature. Now it's the opposite from, say, Loch Ness or some of the coast stuff I do. It's complete opposite end of the scale. So the physical effort to even do what he did, very few people in the world can do that.
It's okay, can you do a 15-second again?
He swam 70 kilometers in a GPS. He swam nearly 4 laps of the course, and you know, he assessed it and he made the call himself. And we talked about it on the boat, and we, you know, as decisions what we can do. And he eventually said, "That's it. I'm okay. I'm stopping." And then he touched the boat, and then the swim was over. So it was tough. It was tough, but I can tell you it was the right call. It's extremely hot out there, you have no idea. The medics were really worried about him continuing, but again, they're trying to be supportive as well, but medically they were assessing, you know, how far do we go with this?
Okay, obviously didn't go quite to plan. I'd be lying if I said this one didn't sting a little bit. Obviously it does. That heat out there, it's so hard to describe. It was completely alien to my physiology. It was, I love how Ger talks about, you just said you're boiling your potatoes at that point, and that is the only way to describe it.
You can never know in the moment. You do think, are we doing the right thing? But ultimately, the signs were there, and with the discussions we had, it seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, we always knew the heat could be a problem, but until you put it into practice, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But from the, you know, from the footage and from the news, it was brutal, and it was only getting hotter. You know, nearly touching 40 degrees, water temperature 31, you know, approximately, you know, and rising. So yeah, we always knew that could be a problem, but to what extent, you know, you don't know.
What is not normal is that we had this African heat wave coming in to Italy and to Spain, to total southern Europe basically, and that's a particular heat dome which is shifting from Africa to Italy, and that raised the temperatures even more. So that's a particular situation actually. So which is hardly predictable, let's say.
We had also thought long and hard before the swim that something called rhabdomyolysis was a big risk, and so we were assessing for that. And Ross showed some of the clinical signs of that, but ultimately you need blood tests to tell you. So it's things essentially like muscle tightness, soreness, and it's difficult to differentiate between something like rhabdo causing those symptoms and having swam 70 kilometers and just being sore. Of course, he was trusting us with his health and his safety. So from his perspective, it was all about his pace and getting that record. And then from our side of things, as I say, we were reaching the limit of what was safe. And we were also starting to see some of the very early signs that he was struggling with heat-related illness. If you get heat-related illness, so your body temperature becoming too high, or the other way, hypothermia becoming too low, it can become a big problem. A lot of these enzymes are crucial for metabolism, so key functions to the body, and they will just stop. They'll slow down and then they'll stop. And at that point, that's when the person will also stop too. We know from a biochemical point of view, from the blood tests, if it's something called creatine kinase, this is released from the muscle again when it breaks down. If that goes above 1,000, then that's the level of rhabdo. Severe is 5,000. Ross's was just over 19,000. So that's just trying to put into context how bad this was.
I knew that Ross is a professional, so he, if his crew tells him it's better to get you out because there is no realistic chance to beat neither the time record nor the distance record, then he wouldn't like it obviously, but he would be professional enough to say, okay, then the swim is over, and that's exactly what happened.
From my point of view, or from any partner's view, they would probably feel more concerned for their other half than what their other half is thinking about themselves. So from that point of view, from being on the boat with the medics, the camera guys, Ross's Gymshark PhD ambassadors, that we were probably all a bit more concerned about him than Ross was concerned about himself. And I don't think Ross realised that swimming 70 kilometres, although he didn't achieve what he set out to achieve, it was a huge feat and a huge accomplishment.
The temperature was only going to get hotter, conditions were getting just worse, and his health's intact. He lives to fight another day.
The records are nice, but stories are maybe even better. And as a team, we were just sitting around this barbecue and we were just sharing stories, because obviously I was swimming, so I wasn't quite aware what was happening on the boat. And there's just the way that everybody came together. It's just amazing.
Through Ross, I know that he's chosen such amazing people, and I know for a fact that had it not have been all of these people come together, it could have been, an event coming out of here, and he might not be sitting here right now, and he could still be in hospital.
Yeah, I'm sort of leaving Italy with no records in the suitcase, but lots of stories, which that feels nice. That does feel nice.
Knowing Ross, I think the way his brain works, he'll just always be after the next challenge. There's never going to be a point where he's going to hang up his running shoes or his swimming goggles or and say, that's it, I'm done. I just don't see it. There's something in him which drives him on and makes him want to keep going, and I think he'll just keep going.
It's taken me 37 years to understand that I have to do a lot of strange stuff to feel normal. And that sounds really weird, but I just feel happy, content, at peace when Hester's just throwing me bananas. I'm 50 hours into a swim, and I don't know, it's just my happy place.
Scivola, come la pioggia scivola, come un bambino rotola, sai farlo pure tu. Prendila e stringila, è un'emozione candida.